I genuinely believe we as a country are closer to a real speech crackdown than at any point in modern Canadian history.
Large American online platforms have become seas of racism, misogyny, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and hate in all its forms.
And the craziest part is that the Liberals aren't even hiding it anymore. To fight back, go to stopthecensorship.ca. And now for the facts about what's coming at you.
My government will act.
While Canadians have been distracted by inflation, tariffs, housing costs, out-of-control immigration, and crime, the Liberals quietly buried something deeply disturbing on page 145 of the Spring Economic Statement. Amendments to the Canada Post Corporation Act expanding police powers to search and seize your mail, your actual physical mail, letters, packages, private correspondence. If it comes in the mail, they can put their eyeballs on it.
C-22 creates the legal framework for lawful access in Canada, something that law enforcement and organizations supporting victims have been asking for decades.
It ensures that law enforcement can obtain timely, lawfully authorized information when they need it.
From internet child exploitation to extortions, to home invasions, to carjackings, to drive-by shootings, to hate-motivated crime, to extremism, lawful access is absolutely required, and it's required now.
Now, if you put that alongside the Liberals' censorship agenda and the pattern, well, it becomes impossible to ignore.
Do you believe tech companies are misinforming Canadians on this bill?
I believe there's a number of areas of misinformation, and to be very clear, the encryption issue is one we will clarify.
If Canadians move their sensitive conversations off social media and back to texts, phone calls, and old-fashioned mail to avoid government snoops, Carney's people appear to have anticipated that already. They are tightening control over digital communication, we already know that, while also expanding state access to private correspondence the old-fashioned way at the same time. So for Canadians, there's no escape hatch to being monitored by the state. And before anybody accuses me of paranoia, let me remind you what Trudeau's government already tried to make into law. Bill C-36 would have allowed anonymous complainants over lawful speech. Somebody could accuse you of hateful expression and you might never properly confront your accuser. The bill proposed fines of up to $20,000 paid directly to the complainant, plus another $50,000 paid to the government itself as the victim. Over words. Not violence, not terrorism, just speech somebody found offensive online. And then there's the really chilling part in all of this, the pre-crime restrictions. The Liberals at the time wanted courts to impose curfews, communication bans, and house arrest conditions on Canadians who had committed no criminal offense whatsoever, simply because somebody claimed to fear what they might say in the future. Not punishment for criminal conduct, but punishment for predicted wrongthink. Then came Bill C-63, that's the Online Harms Act, which proposed even more censorship infrastructure through digital safety commissions, regulators, and online speech enforcement bodies. And of course, the same activist ecosystem backed every step of it. The taxpayer-funded anti-hate NGOs, censorship advocates, activist academics, and other taxpayer-funded organizations that increasingly treat free expression of their political enemies as a social problem to solve. Now, thankfully, those bills died when elections were called, but the agenda never did. Now, Mark Carney's government is openly signaling it wants another crack at all of this. Mark Miller admitted Canada is, quote, a couple of years behind Britain and Australia on internet regulation.
Things and matters that are distributed over the internet, it's clear that that is a role played by the federal government when it comes to regulation of social media. Again, a jurisdiction that is assumed by the federal government, whether we're talking about moratoriums or the proper regulation of egregious online harms, and that's stuff that we're frankly a couple years behind in regulating, as we see other jurisdictions like Australia, like Britain, like France taking action, so we need to take action as well.
Britain, of all places, the country where police investigate tweets and Facebook posts and show up at your door, where citizens get questioned over funny memes and offensive jokes, where authorities reportedly made more than 12,000 arrests tied to online communication offenses in a single year. And instead of treating that as a warning sign for the rest of the free world, Canada's political class increasingly talks about it like it's a model worth copying. That should terrify every single Canadian. Because we know freedom rarely disappears dramatically. It disappears slowly, bureaucratically, and under the language of safety and harm reduction. And Prime Minister Carney may actually be more effective at advancing this agenda than Trudeau ever was, because Trudeau always sounded ideological and, well, flaky. Carney sounds calm and bankery, managerial, and evidence-based, which makes people lower their guard while the state accumulates more power over speech and information. And you just know, independent media will obviously be first among the targets. Government-funded outlets like the CBC, well, they have very little to fear from censorship systems because they already exist safely inside the approved institutional framework. They're not going to say anything Mark Carney doesn't like anyway. The pressure lands on people like us, independent journalists, alternative media, and anybody operating outside of the establishment narratives, anybody who questions the government. That's where this road leads in the end. Criminalized dissent, self-censorship, and a country where ordinary people slowly become afraid to speak honestly because the legal, financial, and social consequences are just too risky. People have bills to pay and families to feed. And once that fear becomes embedded in the culture, governments barely need to censor anybody anymore. People start censoring themselves. And so, we need to speak up now, while we still can. Go to stopthecensorship.ca and sign the petition today. For Rebel News, I'm Sheila Gunn-Reid. Mark Carney's government is proposing to be able to open your mail. Yes, if you take your communications offline and do things the old-fashioned way because you're concerned about government snooping, well, they're going to snoop in your written communications. It's outrageous. If you want to send a message and to fight back, go to stopthecensorship.ca.